What happens when a CEO goes undercover to sweep floors at his own luxury resort and overhears a manager mocking a deaf employee? Noah Nettleton stood at the edge of the staff parking lot, watching the side entrance of the resort like a guy trying to walk into a party where no one knows his name. His uniform, an oversized maintenance polo and khaki pants, itched under the Florida sun, and the fake name tag read Pete. He adjusted the mop handle in his grip and took a breath. He hadn't been here in over 2 years. Noah had bought the 8-location coastal resort chain 6 years ago from a retiring couple who built it from the ground up. At first, he'd been everywhere meeting staff, shaking hands, eating at the buffets like any other guest. But after the pandemic, expansion, and a few new hires at corporate, he pulled back. Trusted the structure, trusted the district managers, then complaints started rolling in, not a lot, but enough to make him uneasy. A few bad reviews online, a couple of exit interviews that mentioned hostile culture at the Palm Harbor location. The final push came when his assistant flagged a sudden spike in employee turnover at that specific resort. Noah didn't want another filtered report. He wanted to see for himself. Palm Harbor was the oldest of the 8 resorts. The staff had changed a lot since he last visited. Most of them never met him in person. He shaved the beard, dyed his hair darker, wore thick, rimmed glasses, and showed up as a new maintenance trainee sent over by a vendor contractor. No one questioned it. "Pete, took you long enough," barked a voice. A woman in her 40s with a clipboard and a Bluetooth earpiece waved him over. "I'm Dana. I run the floor ops. You're late." "Sorry, traffic," Noah said, keeping his eyes down. "Well, try not to make it a habit." "We've got a wedding group checking in, so the lobby's gotta be spotless. You'll be with Edwin today. He's deaf, so speak slow or write it down if you need anything. He's solid, though, fast. You keep up with him, you'll be good." She turned and walked off before Noah could say another word. Edwin was already inside, pushing a broom with practiced rhythm. He was tall, mid-30s, and wore a calm expression as he focused on his task. When Noah approached, Edwin looked up and smiled, pointed to the dustpan, and motioned for him to follow. They worked in silence at first, Noah watching, mimicking, learning the pace. It was harder than he expected. Guests walked around them without a glance, and the air conditioning vents blew dust right back where they swept. Edwin didn't complain once, just kept at it methodical, focused. Every so often, he'd tap Noah's shoulder and motion toward a corner or under a bench. It was clear he knew this building like the back of his hand. By noon, Noah's shirt was soaked through. They stopped for a break near the staff hallway. Edwin handed him a bottle of water and pointed toward the vending machine down the hall, then gestured, "Eat." "Yeah," Noah said, catching his breath. "I could eat." As Edwin headed toward the staff kitchen, Noah lingered near the hallway to cool down. That's when he heard it. 2 voices from behind the linen closet door. "That guy creeps me out," said a man. "I mean, come on, he can't even hear the vacuum running behind him. It's like babysitting a robot." "Oh, just nod and smile," a woman replied, laughing. "He won't know the difference." "I told him yesterday to mop the same spot twice just for kicks. He actually did it." Noah froze. The voices were muffled but clear enough. He stepped quietly toward the door, cracked it open just an inch. Inside, a short man in a suit jacket named Tag. Ricky, front desk manager, was leaning against the laundry cart. A young woman in housekeeping uniform stood beside him, giggling. Ricky mimicked Edwin's sweeping motions stiffly, then cupped his ears and waved his hands in exaggerated gestures. The woman snorted. Noah closed the door slowly, his chest burned. Not just from the heat, but from the gut punch of watching an employee like Edwin, who clearly gave his all, be mocked like a joke. He didn't know Ricky, had never met the guy. But he knew what he'd just seen was more than just bad humor. It was cruel. He walked back down the hall and found Edwin sitting alone, eating a sandwich with an apple on the side. Noah sat beside him, quiet for a minute. "You ever deal with people treating you like garbage?" he asked, not sure why he asked it that way. Edwin paused mid-bite, then nodded once, slowly. "I'm sorry," Noah said, voice low. "You don't deserve that." Edwin looked at him, surprised. Then with a small smile he signed something Noah didn't understand, but the meaning was clear. "Thanks." Dana came storming in 10 minutes later. "Pete, breaks over. The pool deck's a mess. Edwin, you're on towel duty. Go." Edwin packed up his lunch and walked off. Noah stood, picked up the mop again, and forced himself to stay calm. He needed to be smart about this. One wrong move and the staff would shut down or start pretending. He was going to stay through the day, watch more, listen more. Then he'd act. But Ricky. That man had just signed his own exit. He just didn't know it yet. By mid-afternoon, the sun had shifted just enough to cast long shadows across the pool deck, where kids splashed and wedding guests lounged in matching robes, drinks sweating on plastic tables. Noah stayed low profile, pushing the mop along the tile walkways near the cabanas while his eyes watched everything. The resort's beauty was undeniable: crisp landscaping, pristine water features, but behind the aesthetics something was off. Not broken, just unsteady. He noticed it in the rushed pace of the pool attendants, the way one of them, Clarice, maybe 19 or 20, kept nervously glancing at a clipboard like it might explode. She was doing the work of 3 people, handing out towels, clearing used glasses, and folding laundry into a cart that was already overflowing. Noah had barely touched the mop when she passed by again. He cleared his throat. "Hey, you need a hand with that." She paused, startled. "You're the new guy, right? Maintenance?" "Yeah, Pete." She looked around, then shrugged. "If you don't mind grabbing towels from the dryer in the back and folding quick. We're out again and I've got 2 cabana setups waiting." He nodded and followed her inside. The laundry room was loud and humid, machines thudding like distant drums. The air smelled faintly of bleach and sunscreen. Noah found a basket of warm towels and began folding. Clarice worked fast, barely speaking, her face flushed and hair sticking to her forehead. After a few minutes, she finally sat on the edge of a table, wiping her hands on her shorts. "Has it always been this short-staffed?" he asked. She gave a short laugh. "No, before last spring we had 3 pool attendants per shift, then they cut it to 2. Then 1. Now it's just whoever's available." "Why the change?" asked Ricky. "He says it's about efficiency." She made air quotes. "But I think the budget got squeezed. They act like we're lazy if we can't keep up, but last week I worked a 12-hour shift with no break. I asked for help and Ricky told me you knew what this job was when you took it." Noah kept folding. "That's not legal," she blinked. "Maybe not. But nobody wants to stir things up. You complain, you lose hours, or they move you to the least desirable shift." Edwin got stuck with back-to-back closings last month after he asked for a new mop. Noah didn't respond. He couldn't. Not yet. That evening, just before his shift ended, he made his way to the banquet hall. A wedding rehearsal dinner was underway, and the staff were moving like a pit crew, servers darting in and out of the kitchen, trays balanced high, voices low and tense. The executive chef stood at the pass, plating with precision. A young man in a food runner uniform dropped a tray of glasses near the sink and flinched when they shattered. No one yelled, but the tension thickened. Noah noticed a man in a navy blazer standing near the back, arms crossed. He watched the staff with narrowed eyes, nodding occasionally but saying nothing. His name tag read Brent, Regional Manager. Noah hadn't seen him in years. As if summoned by thought, Brent turned and spotted him. "You, new guy, Pete?" "Yes, sir." Brent approached slowly, sizing him up. "How's your first day?" "Good, just trying to keep up." Brent gestured toward the dining room. "This place runs on standards. We don't tolerate excuses. Guests expect perfection and we deliver it. You understand that?" "Yes." He leaned in slightly. "You seem like someone who wants to move up." "Keep your head down, stay loyal, and I'll remember your name. That's how it works here." Noah nodded, though every part of him wanted to challenge the tone, the implication, but the disguise had to hold. As Brent walked off, Noah caught sight of Ricky stepping into the hallway with a tablet. He was laughing again, this time with another supervisor, a woman from housekeeping. Their conversation was low, but something in Ricky's tone made Noah pause. He followed at a distance, just enough to hear. "And if he doesn't like it," Ricky was saying, "he can sweep sand off the beach for all I care. I've got a dozen apps from people who'd take his job in a second." The other woman chuckled. "You're brutal. He's not even worth the paperwork. Just dead weight dragging the rest of us down." Noah didn't need to hear more. He left quietly and made his way to the locker room where Edwin was sitting on a bench, unlacing his shoes. His uniform was damp and his shoulders slumped forward with exhaustion. Noah sat beside him. "You all right?" he asked. Edwin looked up and nodded faintly. "I saw Ricky again, talking about replacing someone," Noah said. "Did he ever threaten your job?" Edwin reached into his backpack and pulled out a small notepad. He wrote a single word, twice. Noah read it, then looked at him. "You ever report it?" Edwin shook his head. Then he wrote again. "Doesn't matter, it does." Edwin stared at him for a second, then stood. He hesitated, flipped to a new page and wrote something longer. "I like working, I do good work, I don't want trouble. I just want to stay." Noah read the words slowly. The simplicity hit harder than any speech could have. The next morning, Noah arrived 2 hours early and went straight to the service entrance. He waited near the loading dock where the delivery trucks arrived. One by one, the usual staff trickled in. Clarice yawning into her elbow, 2 cooks arguing over a supply order, Edwin with a thermos in hand. Brent showed up shortly after, strolling in with sunglasses and a coffee cup. He didn't glance at anyone. Noah followed him into the administrative wing and found Dana in the operations office, reviewing schedules. She looked up. "Why are you back already? You're not on the clock yet." "I need to speak with both of you," Noah said. Dana frowned. "About what?" He pulled the name tag off his shirt and dropped it on the table. "My name's not Pete." Dana's expression faltered. Brent, who had just entered behind him, stopped mid-step. "I'm Noah Nettleton," he said. "I own this resort. And I've seen enough." Dana looked as if the floor had just tilted beneath her. Brent's coffee cup lowered slowly. "You're joking," Brent said. "I'm not. I've spent the last 36 hours working alongside people who are exhausted, unsupported, and disrespected. I watched a guest trip on a loose tile by the cabanas that's been ignored for weeks. I saw a single pool attendant try to cover a whole shift alone, and I heard your front desk manager mock a deaf employee like his humanity didn't matter." Dana opened her mouth, but Noah held up a hand. "You knew." "Maybe not the words, but the tone. The culture, you let it grow." Brent stepped forward. "Look, I understand you're upset, but no, don't spin this. You told me yesterday that loyalty gets rewarded here, but what I saw was fear. People afraid to speak up because they've learned it doesn't matter." He turned to Dana. "Effective immediately, Ricky is suspended pending termination review. I want a full report on his conduct from everyone he supervises. Anonymous. No filters." Dana nodded slowly, still pale. "And Brent," Noah said, "I want your office cleared by noon. You're done." Brent's face reddened. "You can't be serious." "I'm completely serious. You've been in charge of this location for over a year and it's bleeding out talented people because you let managers bully them into silence. You either knew and didn't care or didn't notice and shouldn't be in charge. Either way, you're finished here." He turned and walked out without waiting for a reply. Outside, the morning sun crept over the palm trees, casting a clean light across the front courtyard. Staff trickled in, unaware of the shift underway behind closed doors. Noah spotted Edwin near the towel stand, prepping for the day. He walked over. "You're going to get a new team lead," he said. "Soon, someone who actually sees what you bring here. And I want to talk to you later about setting up mentoring for new hires. You're the kind of person we should be modeling after." Edwin blinked, surprised, then nodded slowly. He didn't write anything, just extended his hand. Noah shook it. And for the first time in a long while, he felt like a leader again. Noah leaned against the railing on the second-floor staff balcony, staring at the distant shoreline as the early morning light glinted off the waves. The resort was waking up, but inside, the air felt different, tense, uncertain. Word had spread fast. Ricky hadn't returned after his suspension. Brent's office was locked by corporate HR before lunch the previous day. Dana had been summoned to a video conference with the company's internal review team. Every manager knew the owner had been on site, walking the halls as a maintenance worker. Now, every look held a question. Who else did he talk to? What did he see? Noah didn't care about the whispers. He hadn't come for comfort. He came to see what had been broken and decide what could be rebuilt. He stepped back inside and made his way to the break room where Clarice was sitting at a table, tying her shoes. Her tray chart was beside her, already filled with laminated guest preferences and towel counts. She looked up when he entered. "You're not in uniform today," she said carefully. "I'm not, no," she stood up, brushing off her shorts. "You're the owner, right?" "I am." Clarice looked down at the chart. "I figured, the way you folded towels, no offense, but it looked like you hadn't done it much." "That's fair." She hesitated, then glanced around the empty break room. "So, what now? You're not in trouble?" "I didn't think I was," she said quickly, then paused. "But I don't know what comes next. I'm meeting with Dana in a few minutes to address scheduling gaps and department loads, but I wanted to ask you something first." Clarice raised her eyebrows. "You've been working this pool deck solo for how long?" 3 months. "If you could change one thing about your job right now, realistically, what would it be?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she leaned on the table and tapped a finger lightly against the edge. "Not everything at once," she said. "I'd start with someone to split the shift, even just 4 hours. That'd change everything. I can handle the guests and the folding and the checklists, but when it's all happening at once, something always gets dropped. And when that happens, it feels like I'm the problem, not the system." Noah nodded once. "Thank you." She looked at him, unsure. "Is that going to happen?" "That's what I'm going to find out." He left her there and walked straight to the operations office. Dana was already seated, laptop open, headset around her neck. She looked tired but not defensive. There was a legal pad in front of her, filled with tight cursive notes. "I've got 15 minutes before the HR call," she said without looking up. "I've been reviewing the last 6 months of incident logs. It's not good." "I didn't think it would be." She finally looked at him. "I failed on oversight. I let Brent dictate the staffing matrix without pushing back. I thought he had clearance from corporate, but I never asked to see the numbers myself." "You're not the only one who stopped asking questions." Dana closed the laptop. "I'd like to stay. I believe in this place, but if you think someone else would do better, I'm not replacing you." "You're the only one who's owned their role in this," she exhaled quietly. "I need you to rework the pool and housekeeping shifts starting next week. 2 people minimum per shift, no more solo coverage unless it's an emergency. Clarice is getting a part-time assistant. Edwin's schedule needs to be reviewed too. He's been pushed too hard." Dana nodded, scribbling notes. "What about front desk? We'll bring in a temp to fill Ricky's spot. Interview internally after 2 weeks. Dana hesitated. "You should know, Ricky's been here longer than I have. He's got friends in the company. If you fire him, it might not be quiet. He's not coming back. He doesn't belong in a position of trust." She didn't argue. Later that afternoon, Noah joined Edwin in the laundry staging area where he was sorting fresh linens onto labeled carts. There was no music playing, just the hum of machines and the occasional slam of a dryer door. Noah picked up a folded sheet and moved to stack it. "I've asked Dana to adjust your hours. No more back-to-back closings." Edwin turned, surprised. He nodded slowly. "There's more," Noah said. "I want to build a training system for new hires. Something better than the current watch and copy routine. You know this place better than most. I'd like you to help design it." Edwin didn't respond right away. Then he reached for his notepad. He scribbled something, tore out the page, and handed it over. It read, "If it helps others stay longer, I'll do it." Noah folded the paper and slipped it into his pocket. The next morning, the staff meeting was held in the main conference room, a space usually reserved for guest events. Folding chairs had been set in rows. Water bottles lined the back table. Most employees looked unsure as they entered, whispering or sitting quietly. Noah stood near the front, not on a platform, not behind a podium, just standing. "I'll keep this short," he said once everyone had arrived. "Some of you already know who I am. For those who don't, I'm Noah. I own this place. Last week, I came here undercover because I stopped trusting the reports I was getting. I needed to see things for myself." The room was silent. "I saw a lot, good and bad. I saw people doing 3 jobs without a complaint. I saw guests treated with patience that most managers would envy. And I saw employees spoken to like they didn't matter. That ends now." He scanned the room. Some eyes met his. Others didn't. "Changes are coming. Staffing will be increased. Roles will be rebalanced. And we're launching a new training program designed by the people who actually do the work, not someone sitting in an office." A woman in the back housekeeping maybe raised a hand tentatively. "What about the people who caused all this?" Noah answered without hesitation. "One has already been removed. Others are being reviewed. I'm not here to protect titles. I'm here to protect the people who make this resort worth coming back to." A murmur swept the room. Not loud, but real. Another voice spoke up, this time from a man in facilities. "What happens when you leave again?" Noah didn't dodge it. "Fair question. I've been 2 hands off. That changes. I'll be here every quarter in person, no warning, no filters. If something's broken, I'll see it. If someone's being mistreated, I'll know." The room held still, then Clara stood. "Can we speak up without losing hours?" "You can. And if anyone retaliates, they'll be gone. No warnings." She sat back down slowly. Noah looked at them one last time. "I can't fix everything in a week. But I can promise you this: if you're willing to stay and speak up, I'm willing to listen and act." No applause followed, just a quiet stillness. Then chairs scraped the floor as people stood, collected their things, and filtered out. Several paused to nod at him. A few shook his hand. One woman left him a folded note on the table. He didn't open it until the room was empty. It said, "Thank you for seeing us." He tucked it into his pocket beside Edwin's note, not for show, but to remind himself next time he started to drift too far from the ground. These were the voices that mattered. The following week, the resort moved with a different rhythm, but not a relaxed one. No one was coasting. The changes had begun, but the weight of what still needed fixing clung to the air like humidity before a storm. Noah stayed on site, but this time without the disguise. He walked the halls as himself, no uniform, no alias, just the man who had once believed systems and titles could run a business without constant presence. Now he knew better. It was mid-morning when he stepped into the HR office, where a woman named Elise, an internal investigator flown in from corporate, was leaning over a stack of paper surveys. Her desk was cluttered but neat, sticky notes color-coded by department, a spreadsheet open on her laptop, and a legal pad balanced across her lap. "I've had 37 responses," she said without looking up. 17 from night staff. A lot of them didn't hold back. Noah pulled a chair beside her. "What's the trend?" She flipped through a few pages. "Consistent patterns. Ricky's name appears in 28 different complaints: verbal humiliation, schedule retaliation, public mockery, but it doesn't stop with him. 2 other supervisors mentioned by name for similar behavior. Seems like they mirrored his style. Names," she handed him a list. "Kara in housekeeping, Lionel on the evening front desk." He studied the paper. "How long have they been in those roles?" "Kara's been a supervisor for 5 months, Lionel for just under a year. Both promoted under Brent's direction." Noah set the paper down. "All right, I'll handle it." Elise raised an eyebrow. "You want HR present?" "No. They need to hear it from me." He found Kara folding spare duvets in the basement linen room. She was compact and sharp-eyed, her movements brisk and mechanical. When he walked in, she straightened but didn't speak. "I read your file," Noah said. "Your first year here, your reviews were excellent. Guests mentioned you by name. Staff said you trained them better than anyone else." She gave a cautious nod. Then something changed. Kara kept folding, shoulders tight. "I did what I was told. Brent said if I wanted to keep moving up, I had to hold people accountable. No excuses. You think mocking someone's speech pattern is accountability? She stopped folding. No, she said finally. That was wrong. He stepped closer. I'm not asking if you feel bad now, I'm asking why you stayed quiet when Ricky was doing it in front of staff. I thought. If I spoke up, I'd lose everything I worked for. And now, I don't want to lead like that anymore. Noah studied her face. There was no deflection, no performance, just a tired honesty. You'll stay on, but not in a lead role. You'll go back to line duties for now. If you want to earn leadership again, you start over with oversight. Kara nodded once. That's fair. Lionel was less receptive. When Noah found him at the concierge desk that evening and delivered the same message, his posture stiffened. I was following Brent's direction. This isn't on me. You chose your tone. You chose who to ignore and who to push. I'm not going to be scapegoated for a system someone else built. You're not being scapegoated, Noah said. You're being held accountable. Lionel crossed his arms. So that's it. You're being reassigned to back-of-house logistics. No guest interaction until further notice. If you refuse, you're free to resign. Lionel didn't answer, just turned and walked toward the employee hallway without a word. That night, Noah sat alone in the staff conference lounge with the lights dimmed, flipping through a folder of resumes. They were internal applications for Ricky's replacement. He read quickly but carefully, looking not for credentials, but for patterns, consistency, adaptability, initiative. One name stood out, Marisol Vance, Assistant Guest Services Coordinator. Her history showed steady growth and near-perfect attendance. None of the complaints had mentioned her. Several praised her. He met with her the next morning in one of the Cabana offices. She arrived early, clipboard in hand, posture straight. You've been here 3 years, he asked as she sat. Yes, sir. Why didn't you apply for a lead role sooner? I was waiting for the right kind of leadership above me. I didn't want to build something surrounded by fear. Noah leaned forward. And now, I want to help fix what we almost lost. He smiled just slightly. You're promoted. Effective immediately, you'll be working with Dana for the next 2 weeks on policy rewrites and team realignment. After that, the floor's yours. I won't waste it. She didn't. By the end of the second week, Marisol had met with every hourly employee on her team. She shifted the tone of team briefings, cut out punitive language in the shift logs, and introduced a rotating feedback slot 10 minutes every Friday where one employee could bring up a concern without supervision present. It wasn't everything, but it was something. Meanwhile, Edwin's role began changing too. Dana had assigned him 2 new hires to shadow him during evening maintenance. They didn't speak sign language, but they picked up his signals quickly. One of them, a young man named Jalen, started asking Edwin to show him how to track supply usage more efficiently. They worked in quiet rhythm, and for the first time in a while, Edwin didn't cut his breaks short. Noah kept his presence steady but not overwhelming. He stopped by different departments without notice, not to interrogate but to observe. He watched a towel cart get delivered without delay. He saw Clarice working alongside a new part-timer, trading off Cabana prep in a rhythm that didn't look frantic. She caught his eye once just briefly and gave him a nod. He returned it. 3 weeks after his initial visit, Noah gathered the leadership team in the main conference room, the same space where he'd made his first announcement. Now, the chairs were full for a different reason. He stood at the front again, not to lecture, but to close the loop. I came here thinking I'd find a broken process, he said. What I found was something worse, a culture where people stopped believing they could speak up. He let that sit. I made mistakes. I trusted the wrong people. I let distance become a shield, but I'm not leaving this place in the hands of silence again. Dana stood beside him now, not behind. She spoke next. We have a lot more to do. Department leads will rotate weekly check-ins across teams. HR access will be simplified. And every quarter, a direct line to ownership will reopen for anyone. There were no applause breaks, just a quiet kind of stillness that carried weight. After the meeting, Noah stepped outside to the back patio to clear his head. The sound of waves rolled in steady and low. Edwin was there already, sitting on a bench near the edge, sipping from a thermos. Noah walked over and sat beside him. "You built this place more than I did," he said. Edwin looked at him, eyes steady. "You reminded me of what matters." Edwin didn't reach for his notebook. He just nodded, slow and even. They sat like that for a while, the sky above them softening with the first hints of dusk. No more disguises, no more silence, just the work and the people doing it with dignity finally restored.